Hello, folks. Here are the answers to quiz number 20. So, I asked you 5 canine questions, canine conundrums. Conundra? I don't know. Anyway, what was weird about all the dogs that played Lassie? Well, bearing in mind, Lassie was always referred to as she, and Lassie itself means girl. All the dogs that played her were boys. They didn't use female dogs because obviously rough collies have that big luxurious coat, most of which falls out when a female dog is in estrus. So they didn't like using female dogs for Lassie. So they were all boys. They were all male. That's the correct answer. Question 2. The long-running TV programme featuring a character played by the doggy actor Moose and following that by his son Enzo. The character was Eddie, who was the little Jack Russell that everyone loved in Frasier. So half a point for Eddie, half a point for Frasier. Question 3. Which Blue Peter dog lost her teeth, was bad-tempered and would gum you to death? That was Petra, who was the sort of Alsatian that they had and was a massive fraud, which they have owned up to now. But at the time, they got this sort of pedigree dog, introduced her to the world, and she promptly died. And so they went and found a mutt that looked almost identical and passed her off as Petra, the same dog, for years. They only fessed up some years later that it was actually a different dog. Question 4. How many full-bred corgis does the Queen currently own? 0. The last full-bred corgi that she owned died in 2018. His or her, I'm assuming her, name was Willow. The Queen does have 2 doggies, which are not just sort of Southern American doggies. No, they are Dachshund Corgi crosses. So she does still currently own those. They are named Vulcan and Candy, which is surprising for the Queen, I feel. Anyway, so she has 2 doggies, but no corgis right now. And question 5. London was the name of the dog who performed in the show where he had a voice, kept on calling him down the road. That's where he'd always be. Every stop he'd make a new friend. That was The Littlest Hobo, the soundtrack of my childhood, the 1980s. So then, these imperial measurements. Question 6. To the nearest centimetre, 6 inches is 15 centimetres. 15.24 to be exact. But 15 is the correct answer. I suppose you can have half a mark for 14 or 16, but a full mark for 15. To the nearest 5 kilometres, 500 miles is 805 kilometres. It's actually 804.672 kilometres, but yes, 805. So again, if you put 800 or 810, you can have half a mark. Now, this was the contentious one because I, of course, just typed in 10 gallons in litres, and Google gave me American gallons. How very dare it. So, if you went with American gallons, 10 gallons is 38 litres. It's 37.8. If, on the other hand, you went with UK gallons, it's 45 litres. So if you put 45, you can also have the point. To the nearest half a square kilometre, 100 acres, it's only half a kilometre, half a square kilometre. It's remarkably small. Everyone expects an acre to be huge, acres and acres of land. Well, actually, 100 of them's still not that much. And to the nearest kilo, question 10, to the nearest kilo, I weigh 72 kilos or 160 pounds. So again, half a mark either way. I suppose with 100 acres, there's not really much point in you taking half a mark if you put 0. If you put 0, that would be very odd. But if you put 1, you can have the half a mark. And similarly, with the nearest kilo, you can have 71 or 73. You can have half a mark, but a full mark for 72. So, and you thought Danny Elfman was samey. Hans Zimmer wrote all of those soundtracks. They are rather good, I think. One of them does rather resemble a piece by Holst. But anyway, first one, that was Pirates of the Caribbean. Strictly speaking, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl. But if you put Pirates of the Caribbean, you can have it. It's fine, I'm feeling lenient. 12, the one that sounded like someone tuning a church organ. That's Interstellar. That was an award-winning soundtrack, that was. Interstellar. Question 13, that's The Lion King. Now, The Lion King, the songs in The Lion King were predominantly written by Elton John, but the incidental music was written by Hans Zimmer in collaboration with 2 or 3 other people. That piece, The Stampede, which is the bit where Lion King's father gets killed. Spoilers. Lion King. Simba's father gets killed. is in both the film, or all of the film, the live action film, the animation film, and the stage show. So The Lion King is a good answer. That's a good piece for all three. And it was written by Hans Zimmer. Question 14 was Driving Miss Daisy. Bit of a departure. But yeah, Driving Miss Daisy. The lovely Jessica Tandy. And lastly, number 15, the one that sounded suspiciously like Holst Mars. That's Gladiator. And lastly, these capital cities. So, question 16, that's Lisbon, capital of Portugal. Relatively easy one, I thought. Question 17, this one's a tricky one. Marking it on the map was also quite tricky without the borders to go on, but that was my best guess at Warsaw. And I've checked it, and it's a reasonably good guess. It's not really anywhere near any of the others that are around there. So Warsaw, capital of Poland. So half a point for Warsaw, or Warszawa, and half a point for Poland. 18, it's not Athens, and it's not Skopje. They're both reasonably far away. That's Tirana, the capital of Albania. So half a point for Tirana. Don't mind about the spelling. Half a point for Albania. 19, that's Copenhagen. It is not Stockholm. Stockholm, again, further away. It's Copenhagen, capital of Denmark, which is actually on the island next to Jutland, the sticky up bit of Denmark. And lastly, that's a sneaky one. On the border of France and Spain is the tiny, tiny nation of Andorra, and its capital city, Andorra la Vella. So half a point for Andorra, half a point for Andorra la Vella. Hope you enjoyed. Those were the answers. I'll be back relatively soon with quiz number 21, because I have a backlog.